It has come to our attention that a Spencer Pratt political ad is going viral.
I already saw it. The one where he's crying about his house. Give me a break with the sob stories. It's time to move on.
No, ma'am. This is a new ad, and it seems to be more powerful.
What do you mean, another ad?
It already has millions of views on X. And ma'am, the production value, it looks like a $100 million film.
Where are they getting that kind of money? I personally shut down every damn studio in this city.
Ma'am, it was an AI filmmaker.
What do you mean it was an AI filmmaker? Comms. Polling. MIMWG2 SLBBTQQEIA. Stay. Everyone else, out. Everyone in the entertainment industry is supposed to be out of Los Angeles. What even was the point of the fires? Wasn't the Kamala endorsement supposed to seal the deal? This is meant to be an easy win for me.
It moved 0.3 points, ma'am.
The race might be lost. But if you think I am giving up this office, you are sorely mistaken.
Please, I'm begging you. There's homeless drug addicts in front of the schools. My children aren't safe.
Look, if you were a transgender migrant, I could get you a free pussy.
Let's move the drug addicts closer.
Bass already solved crime. I endorse her.
Next!
Please, I just want to rebuild my home. It's been over a year.
Mom, look.
This is a machine. If we want to burn this town to the ground, pull through that!
I feel so close.
You can do it, Spencer!
Now.
It ends up, when you do communism right, it works perfectly and everyone loves it.
And it only took 200 million starving to get here.
That's less than half as many as we thought.
There has been another terrorist attack with 33 dead. The American government has decided not to do anything about it since we probably deserved it.
It sure is great that abortion is now free and available for everyone everywhere.
Yeah, but it's too bad that there aren't any babies to abort since we outlawed being a heterosexual.
Murdering those families was wrong, but you're an immigrant and you probably just didn't know any better. Plus, we shut down all prisons. You're free to go.
This is wrong! You need to lock him up!
How dare you question our compassion? Execute that man immediately!
I found more letters we need to add to the acronym.
It's already so large, it's throwing off the rotation of the Earth. If we add any more letters, we'll die.
Then we die! Everyone just stay in line and walk through the scanner. It's going to check how dark your skin is to see how many benefits you get.
If I were you, I wouldn't bother.
The U.S. has run out of money.
Can't we just murder more billionaires and confiscate their wealth?
There are no more left. I'm afraid someone in our country is actually going to have to get a job and work.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Do me a finger, would you please? Would you raise a finger and share this program? We're going to cover some crap. Culture, race, and American politics. By the way, today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. What I'm asking you to do, please, is I'm just asking you, it's a very simple proposition. Just go to jovanlovesgold.com. Request your free gold and silver kit today. That's it. Because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. It really is that simple, folks. Just feed your membrane. You got to do it. And because they're already padding the midterms, I've been telling you about it. And because the system's been working at odds to convince you it's not and don't look there, it's going to be a fight. But when you really look at the data, it's obvious. I'll give you an example. Here is Motor Voter. They tell illegals coming across the border. I'll give you an example. Look at it this way. This is what happened to Europe between Obama's term to right when Trump came back in. Every little black dot represents 100 people. This is the invasion of illegals, almost all Muslim, mass invasion. Now, as startling as that is, that occurred in equal measure right here in the United States of America just through the Biden term alone. You have to understand this war. You have to understand how it's being fought. You have to understand what they're doing, because if you don't understand how the system does it to you, you cannot defend against it. You just saw, I think it was Minnesota, the entire legislature voted against removing dead people from the voter rolls. States are outlawing, you can't look at the voter rolls, can't get a copy. Illegals come across the border, they're told to get an ID. Driver's License Bureau automatically registers them to be a voter. Here are the states that do that. You can see how they're controlled. You can see the ones that are in battle, Georgia, Nevada, these other ones, right? It's done on purpose. Here are the states that don't. This is how they wag us, folks. And this is why your support of the full forensic audit in Arizona is so critical, because it's the only thing that shows how it's done. Now, the reason I tell you this is immediately following this program, you're going to see all kinds of posts. Holy crap, breaking. Tulsi Gabbard releases memos alleging CIA cover-up intelligence officials doctored presidential briefings to hide China and Venezuela election interference. Big breaking story. I'm going to break it down for you. So immediately following this program, I'm going to pop back up on a X Spaces, right? And of course, X Spaces is just, you'll find it right here at my handle on X. Just like listening to radio, if you haven't done it, you just click when I'm live and you can listen. And by the way, put the word out to Colonel Sean Smith, the sweetheart of election integrity, or Dr. Frank, or whatever. Feel free to join me, challenge me, but we'll talk about this memo and what you really need to understand and really what it says and what it doesn't say. Anyway, today's going to be a forbidden history moment. We're going to talk about the sickly sweet truth about slavery in the Americas. This is the story they do not teach. This is probably one of the most important stories you need to understand about slavery and the con, right? Of America was slave traders and all that other crap. This is going to basically expand your mind, give you facts to deal with. I'm just going to give you hardcore facts. You can audit me, baby, because I'm going to give you the truth. So I want you to share this program right now. We'll get started right after these brief messages.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother, wow. She tried to hit an agent with her car, oh no! Pop, motherfucker, now she's gone! Yeah! Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired unfuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease! You fuck around and find out it's what it is! Jeffrey Pretty was a Jewish homo. Started talking shit to protect a show
not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, he's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics, they all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, guys, we're going to be talking about forbidden history. And I call this program The Sickly Sweet Truth About Slavery in the Americas. This is the history lesson that the schools do not want taught because it's based truth and facts, and then you can make up your own mind. Now, just like I said, immediately following this program, I'm going to hop over to X. I'm going to do a spaces, right? You just got to give me time to transition over. And you're seeing all kinds of stuff like this. Tulsi Gabbard releases memos alleging CIA cover-up. Intelligence official doctored presidential briefings to hide China and Venezuelan election interference. Okay? And I'm going to give you the facts. And then when you get the facts, because most people just read it, oh my God, we caught him. It was Weenie Wheeler. No. Let's get the facts. Use your brain. Don't go by a tweet. Don't go by somebody wanting to get clicks. So say, read, and then let's see what we've got. Let's cure this epidemic of apathy and headline reading and thinking we know the truth, because we do not. So, in the theme of digging deep, right? Let's dig deep into this slavery issue. Now, I'm going to give you a short, condensed 1.25 minute story of what I'm going to cover because it's for people with short attention spans. And then I'm going to give you the absolute hardcore facts, right? Now, all across the world, they're claiming we need reparations. And it's kind of just like Leering Center. You think they're misspelling it wrong. No, where they were, like in the UK, spelling it reparations, they were doing. I want you to tell me honestly, if by the time I get to the end of the program, if you've ever heard any of these facts before and you understand it, right? And if you ever heard that, let's say the king and queen, who were the big traders, right, in England of slaves, how ironic that King Charles was just here, that they just finished paying their buyout for releasing slaves, like in 2014, 2015? Did you know that? And did you know that's part of why it was all pushed on the Americas? The Americas did it. And nobody talks about England and what the slave trade really was. Here's a brief look at what you're going to learn today.
Every teaspoon of sugar you've ever eaten came from an industry that killed more human beings than almost anything else in history. We just stopped talking about it. Sugar arrived in Europe in the 1400s. Within decades, the demand was insatiable. But sugarcane is brutal to harvest. It cuts, it bleeds, it breaks people. No one would do it willingly, so they didn't ask willingly. More Africans were enslaved specifically for sugar plantations than for any other industry in the entire history of the slave trade. In the Caribbean alone, over 1 million enslaved people died on sugar plantations, worked to death in heat so that Europeans could sweeten their tea. Britain abolished the slave trade in 1807, but quietly paid compensation, not to the enslaved, to the slave owners, for their lost property. The British government finished paying off that compensation debt in 2015. British taxpayers were paying slave owners' descendants until 5 years ago. The average person consumes 40 kilograms of sugar a year. The industry is worth $2 trillion today.
Did you know those numbers were hidden from you? Did you know it was kind of a optical thing? Do you really know what the numbers are? Do you know most of the people that really had plantations were really blowing and going about it were partners with the English? Did you know that the English sanctioned the pirates in the Barbary Coast to raid our ships? Did you know even before England got rid of slavery, we were already doing it? But they turned the tables to make it look like they were doing the right thing. Did you know any of that history? Honestly, put it in chat. Did you know any of that history? I got a damn splinter in my hand, and it's my business hand, if you know what I mean. Hang on, I got to clip this son of a sucker out. Ow! I was trying to figure out what the hell is going on between my fingers there. Ooh, maybe I can dig that out in between programs. But did you know any of that? Most people had no idea. Had no idea that that's the true story. That how this was done. That there was a lot of psychological warfare involved. There were a lot of optics. And then they also weaponized reparations. Isn't that interesting? You make it look like it's an American thing. The United States of America never was. Never was. To hide it, because they didn't want lords and lasses and all those lanky ladies suing, they agreed to pay them off. And they've been paying them off for 250 years. Plus, think about that. That was to keep it quiet so it could all be pushed on the Americas. And the world has been taught that the United States of America were the slave traders. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into this. And this is a big story that most people do not know. I've covered bits and pieces of this, but now that you understand really what's going on with government and how they do it and all that crap going on, now's the point where you're really, and I'm squeezing a damn thorn out of my hand. Just hadn't come up yet, but I've cut the hole. See? Anyway, can you see? Anyway, most people don't know this, and this is how long psychological warfare has been going on. And this is how the crown deflected and became, oh, we're the good guys. We can go everywhere. We didn't do those slaves. The America did those slaves. That's why when you understand we're headed to our 250th anniversary of our nation with our 4th of July this year. By the way, Pope Leo said he wasn't going to attend. And I don't know if you know that he's an American, but he's not going to attend our celebration. It's because, well, he's not for it. He doesn't want America to stay free. It's all about this globalist domination, keep people poor. And by the way, the harder the oppression in a country, the harder the oppression in a country, who is the number one beneficiary? Who is the number two beneficiary? And you can look it up by poverty stats. Number one, of course, the government, because they're raping people. And then they get to raise more money, like in Africa, $2.7 trillion, and nobody can account for where all the African aid went. The other one, ironically, is the Catholic Church, because people tend to panic, they're starving, they run to the church, and it makes them feel better, and it grows their numbers. Isn't that interesting? No offense if you're a Catholic. It just happens to be the church that does it, the organized religion that benefits the most from it. People don't run to the Pentecostals because they're penniless. You understand what I'm saying? So we're going to take a look at this phenomenon. Okay? Period. And you're going to probably realize, holy smokes, we've had this espionage and this psychological warfare and this crap for a very, very, very long time. And if you remember me telling you years ago, and by the way, you can freaking audit me, when you first heard about me, and I'm standing in front of the Senate, exposing the crap, calling out both Republicans and Democrats, through Mike Lindell, I was infiltrated by an MI6 agent. Yep. But he was embedded in my organization by Mike Lindell. Now, I sniffed it out exceptionally quick, right? And then busted it out and the whole thing went away and whatever. But I was infiltrated by MI6. I tell you that because this espionage crap and stuff, right, is very real, and it still goes on to this day, and England is still involved. It's a double-edged sword, folks. Countries are going to be for their own country. England's for its own country, exactly as it should be, by the way, and we should be for ours. So don't be surprised by it. It happens. Just most people aren't smart enough to ferret it out. And I told you, guy, when it happens, I blowed it. Here's his background. Here it is. I blew open the thing and said, what the hell is going on? And divested myself of that group until they infiltrated the second time. Then divested myself of that group until there was an infiltration the third time. Then divested myself of that person. And then there was an infiltration the fourth time. And then divested myself of that person. It's kind of the way it goes. You have to stay on it. So I want you to know the real history of what's going on, what happened, etc. Now, if you understand the premise, it's a very, 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 very simple premise. And ironically, it's one of the things that killed us the most. Do you know why we have white flour? Do you know why we have white sugar? When flour and wheat is not white, it's brown. When sugar is technically not brown, not white, it's brown. A very long time ago, basically getting the germ separated from everything, they realized they could produce a white flour. But because it took so much time to do, it took so much knowledge and mechanism to do it, it needed more money. Therefore, it eventually got more funding from the crown. Yeah, it goes all the way back to England again. And then it goes all the way to Europe. And so what happened, and I'm kind of packing this down and paraphrasing it, is it became the what would be a good analogy today? Give me the symbol of bleaching comes later. Bleaching comes later. Right? And that's still used today. Hillary used it in an election. What's the word? What's the status symbol today? I don't even keep up with this shit anymore. Right? It's like these graduation kids flashing their money and their cars, and it's all bullshit. What's a status symbol of today? If you have this, you must be rich, right? What is it? Driving a Tesla, hypothetically. Let's use that. Right? White flour became, quote unquote, the Tesla of the time. Well, you must be wealthy if you can eat white bread, if you have white sugar. Get it? And so whiteness, this is the true white colonialism. This is the true story of white supremacy and white colonialism. You ready? Here's the true story. Yes, it was favored to be white, absolutely white, snow freaking white. Flour and sugar. flour, and sugar. And so the wealthy, to separate themselves from the mere peons, the serfs, only wanted to eat white. There was their supremacy right there. And it was such a supremacy that mere peons and regular folks like all of us couldn't eat it. So they had their white flour, white sugar, pure white cocaine. But you know what I mean, right? It had to be white. Now, an interesting thing happened. Because of the elite, rich, king, queen, ultra rich, being obsessed with white and it taking off, it truly became associated with the elite upper class. And when you combine that with them doing like the Muslims do, humping cousins to keep it in the family, not only did you have goofy, retarded people, you had goofy, crooked teeth, retarded, fat, diabetic people. And you know what I mean? Yeah, baby. Just like a bad Austin Powers movie. But you understand what I'm saying? This is where it all comes from. Right there. Now, when, right, this white phenomenon, this white supremacy happened, right? And they kept it to themselves for a few decades. And by the way, if you were caught with white flour, you were killed. Right? It was outlawed. If you liked things that the royals like in Russia, one of the things I collect are pink princesses, which is a stone. But back in the Tsar's time, only the royal Russian family could own these stones. And if anybody had possession of them, right? One day I think I've shown you before. I'll do another gemstone show. But they executed you. It was outlawed. Well, see, that was the supremacy. That was it. It was white, 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 white. White, 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 white. Flour, sugar. Now, when that caught on and they get gluttonous and they get going, another little twist happened. They started going, well, we could probably make money if we sell this stuff. And so they actually start trading in white flour and white sugar. And it becomes all the rage. Little did they know they were killing themselves. Little did they know they were bringing disease in their body with these white flours and white sugars. Right? Diabetes, obesity, liberalism, all this other stuff, right? And so it became the hot commerce item. And when they found out they could make money on it their own way and control it, boom, pop motherfucker, right? Here it goes, and it's now about commerce. So now they got to figure out, boy, we've got to get most of this. We've got to be able to corner the market. We've got to be able to do it. And I'll give you a good example of how this works. 2 gemstones, and this is just to set up this story about how devious this is about control. Number one, in, let's say, Africa, you hear about the Kimberley diamond mines and all that other bit. Well, they're called kimberlite pipes. Think of a carrot that's a geological carrot. It kind of goes down like an inverted volcano, right? A cone, like a funnel. The way diamonds happen naturally is the earth farts. Yeah. It's a kind of an interesting carbon dioxide fart that if you were standing there when it blew, it's kind of cold. And what it does is it blows the diamonds up. That's how we find diamonds dispersed. But what happens is these volcanoes kind of come out of the ground and they leave that rock. But that rock is now crumbly. And over time, the rock crumbles and it eventually leaves a little depression, which typically becomes, earth farts matter, typically becomes like a big pool or puddle. That's how they find it. And one of the things where you find it by satellite is you look for the blue holes. You'll notice a little depression in the land. It'll look kind of bluish because the earth looks kind of bluish, but it'll have hard rocks like somebody ringed the pond on the outside, and those are the rocks that came up with it, right? And so that's basically kimberlite. And that's what the English learned. But in Zwaziland and Zambezi and all these other places, you may find gem grade diamonds, 1 out of every 5,000 kimberlite pipes. But it's still a horrific, incredible trade, right? Of course, cornered by the English. Did you know that same thing occurs here in the United States of America? Bet you didn't know that. And we have not only kimberlite pipes, but lamperite pipes, which is what the Arkansas diamond field is. Well, they were discovered in America. 2 things happened. The English came over and bought up the land. And if anybody said, screw you, English, I'm not selling, kind of like the diamond field in Arkansas, they just burn them out, burn it all down. And therefore, you don't associate America with diamonds. Now, the same thing happened in the sapphire business. If you were to look at Princess Diana's engagement ring, which now Catherine wears as her wedding ring, that blue, pure, incredible sapphire comes from Montana. I've been to the exact spot where it was pulled out of the ground. Flawless blue. Well, see, the English had already conquered India and controlled Burma and Maguk and all those other places. And those sapphires have to be treated because they come out of the ground gray. They only come out of the ground in great colors here in the United States of America. But damned if the English didn't do the same thing. They came in, bought the mines, locked down the land, killed people, burnt stuff out. And therefore, in the United States of America, you don't realize we even have these sapphire fields. I'm giving you that similarity so you'll understand how this control from a large empire that got their asses kicked from us has always been there. It's the way it's done. So without further ado, let's talk about this crap. Right? Let's talk about this crap. So we're gonna look at the first thing. Do you agree that right now in the United States of America, all these people are trying to scream reparations, 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 reparations? Do you agree? Now, I just revealed to you where this reparations concept came from. When the English, the crown, paid all the people that were involved, you got to get rid of your slaves. We got to look like the noble ones, but we'll pay you in 1809. And they just paid off those reparations. They just paid off those reparations in 2014. Think about that. Well, they learned to weaponize it. Reparations, that's a pretty damn... What if we convince Black Americans that the Americans were the slavers, they own them, and the American system has to bleed all this money out? Now you understand the con. What drove this con was sugar, not cotton. What do you think about when you think slaves? Cotton, slave ships, rich masters, gone with the wind, plantation owners humping all the black ladies. Those were called fancies, by the way. But think about that. When it comes to, what was his name? Alex, whatever, that wrote the book Roots, total BS. And again, the industry learned how to use it. The industry learned how to spin it for political purposes. And so you've been taught your entire life that Americans were bad, captured black people, and enslaved black people, when everybody knows it's Hawaii's fault. I'm kidding. Anyway, so here's the real facts. But here's the most devious thing of all you need to understand. I'm telling you right up front, it was all about sugar. Right up front. The fuel, the evil fuel for that engine wasn't fancy, high yellow, light-skinned sex slaves. The ladies, they were sold as fancies. Wasn't really even manual labored and planting your black-eyed peas. It was sugar. It was sugar. And it was all about commerce. Now, they've told you it was Americans and cotton. Total bullshit. But here's the ironic thing. So we do the Emancipation Proclamation in the 1860s, right? Late 1860s. We get it done, boom, boom. We had already literally, for 80 years before that, had already began outlawing slavery. If you brought slaveries to the United States of America, this is the history they don't teach you, your ship was seized by the United States government and you were imprisoned. But they don't teach you that convenient story. Alex Haley, thank you very much. Took me a while. Thank you, Helen. I appreciate that. Alex Haley and Roots, all just bullshit, right? Here's the most ironic thing of all. They have taught our fellow Americans who happen to have more melanin than us, who cannot trace their roots back to Africa, that you're due reparations. So they want Black Americans to sue our government to extract more money out of the system. Here's an interesting thing. Who consumes the most sugar in the United States of America? To this day, I don't eat meat and I don't wear leather shoes and leather belts because it's unethical. I'm not going to support these television shows because they're conservatives. Cancel, 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 cancel. Who eats the most sugar? Black adults. The number one group, not only in the United States of America, but in the world that consumes sugar. 19 teaspoons a day minimum. Many times it's way over that. Minimum are Black Americans. What kind of a cool deal is that? You can convince Black Americans that white Americans enslaved them, total lie. Convince them that their country enslaved them while you're pushing to them 19 teaspoons of sugar a day. Almost three times what even a basic American eats. What's the next group? Hispanics. And what does the SNAP food system and stuff, frankly, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It got rid of it, but what was the number one thing that they would push and you could buy with those benefits? The sugar-filled items. The white flour-filled items. Talk about white freaking supremacy. And you have an entire segment of people that we got to be free. They suppress us. No shit. They sugar your ass out. Plow the sugar into you because you know why? They still own the sugar trade. They just own it from the high corporate level. Oh, by the way, they still own the flour trade. They just own it from the high level. Yeah, you're a freaking slave and you agreed to it because you can't even follow the money and understand where it comes from. Could you sit down at the table right now, if you had a sugar bowl still left in your house, and take your teaspoon, right? And take your teaspoon. And 19 times in a row, eat that crap. See, what they did, here's what's really interesting when you really analyze it. In Europe, when they finally understood these chemicals and these bleaching flours and shit are killing us, they made a switch. Not too long after the 1900s dawned, right? You had a major corporation that was in the candle business. And they were getting their butts kicked. And they go, we got to flex, and we got all this cottonseed oil left. That's where the flex that we got Crisco came from, folks. We'll just make people eat it. Tell them it's because it looks like lard. We'll just have them eat it. This is the rig. And that's why if you look at European countries, they learned this the hard way hundreds of years before we in the Americas. So they go, we got to cut this shit out or we're killing our nation. But in our country, it's promoted and allowed. Why? Because they realized you can kill a nation slowly and make it sick. So let's also poison America at the same time while we're still making our money. Think about that for a minute. So let's go back in time and let's talk about what the trade really was, right? What the trade really was, etc. Now, I want you to understand, you're going to realize that the system still operates this con, right? They still operate this con. I'll give you an example. Out of the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of slaves that came across the Atlantic, where did they actually go? Put it in chat. Where did they go? Do you know? I'm going to give you the numbers because very few came to the United States of America. You know where they went, which is ironic? Haiti, Jamaica, Bahamas, all of them, which were still what? English colonies. Most people don't understand that. Where was the last big democratic rig where billions disappeared? Think of the Democrat known as Hillary. Oh, yeah, Haiti. In the slave trade, the sugar belt of the world was located in Haiti. It was St. Dominique, Haiti, Jamaica, Barbados, Cuba, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Trinidad. You put those up, you look at them, one went communist, all of them were English colonies. See, a lot of these they don't tell you. They still own to this day. They won't talk about the slave trade in the colonies they built, but they'll definitely push it to the United States of America. See, those slaves coming to the Americas, coming to the Americas was only a technicality. It wasn't literal about the slave trade, but they blamed it on the United States of America. It never was the United States of America. What was the next country at that time? Where did the slaves really go? We're talking millions of slaves. Where did they really go? Brazil. Northern Brazil. Bahia and Pernambuco, northeast Brazil. Who set up the province there? That's right. The Spaniards for the crown, and the crown owned it. Isabella, etc. 1442, all that other stuff. That's where, or 92, that's where they were. They went into Brazil robbing ink and gold and all stuff. They don't tell you that that ran all the way through the late 1800s. All primarily controlled, trafficked by the crown. How close did this massive slavery really get to what is now the United States of America? Cuba. Havana. Montezas. Was it on our shores? Was it even coming to our shores? We weren't dealing with it. But who do they blame it on? Well, Cuba, communist country. See, people don't connect the dots. Let's just follow the commerce on this, right? Let's follow the commerce. And in fact, Haitians' sugarcane economy actually collapsed for a period of time. It all moved to Brazil and Cuba, Cuba being part of it. Where did we really have this type of slavery? Now, you got to understand, there was the British Caribbean as well, which is Jamaica, Barbados, Antigua, St. Kitts, Grenada. There was the French Caribbean. By the way, remember this battle back and forth, the French, St. Dominique, Martinique, Guadeloupe. There was the Dutch trade, which is still around, which the Dutch and the English were fighting. They all consolidated, slave trade, piracy, everything. They don't tell you this. They were Suriname, Demakara, the Ghanas, Escudibu, Burrice, etc., right? And then there was the Spanish Caribbean, which is Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. We had one singular place in the United States of America where these trafficked people came and were forced to work the sugar trade? Where was it? Florida? Nope. Georgia? No. Actually, it was Louisiana. So if you want to get into a technicality, after I named all these other places, countries, etc., it was Louisiana. And it was actually for a very short window, and it was a very small part of the business. And then it only became a bigger provider in the business after slavery was already abolished and gone, period. Almost every bit of it was to fuel St. Dominique, which is now Haiti, period. The people of Haiti started pushing. That's why you got the French Revolution. This is what part of it. With the French Revolution also came the Haiti revolutions before that. Remember Marie Antoinette? Let them eat cake. Let them eat cake. Let them eat white flour and sugar. We want what you've got. Now you understand where the history comes from? These slaves went not to the United States of America. And as I've told you, it's always about bullshit words. It is always, 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 always about the twist of words. And who do they want to make pay for it? United States of Americans. Not South America, not Latin America, not communist that happens to be in America like Cuba, not Brazil, not even that. Why? Because they still control the poverty there. What's the other common denominator of all the places that I just named? They're continually robbed of their resources and their people are kept poor. You go back to everyone I named and you see the English, not American, you see the English hand, you see the English control, you see, oh, we're mightier than thou, these Americans. It's all about, and all of those countries are still dirt poor. And what do the same system do? Just like Hillary, raise money, 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 money. In the name of the poor people, we got to take care of the poor people. See, what they're trying to do is expand their economic engine. They've already mastered how to control poor people. They've already mastered to how can you make poor people think they're living the high life. Let them have Snickers bars. Let them eat cake. They'll think they're royalty. Wow, life is great because I can now eat white flour and down a cup of sugar a day. I'm living high on the hog as the system kills them. Same racket today. And every one of these countries is still under control. And this is what they want to do. Period. This is what they want to do. The entire slave trade was fueled by sugar. I'm going to ask a quick question real quick. Like, give me a moment real quick. Hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can get an answer real quick. Hang on 1 second. Come on. What the hell? Okay. Modern day Haiti. Modern day Haiti. Okay. At that time, and I'm just going to use the mid 1500s for the start of it, there were 32,000 white people, which were British, 32,000 white people, which were British, and 150,000 imported black slaves. So what's that? 5 to 1. Every white person, there were 5 slaves there. For English people running the sugar racket, which still is in our lives and controlled our lives today, and we can't get away from the sugar. And oh, by the way, they've invested in the other businesses. Let's make it in food. Let's get them diabetic. Let's get them sick. Don't grow the food. Outlaw that. By the way, we'll give them a medicine for it. Hey, this is a great circular economy enterprise, and it still goes on today. They were producing at that time 80,000 metric tons of sugar. Okay, hang on, ready? We're going to look at Jamaica. Jamaica had a white population, English. Jamaica had a white population of 15,000 people. They had an enslaved population of 146,800. See, history books want you to believe it was the United States of America, these people that escaped that British bullshit rule and all that stuff and all that oppression and did free. So they want to basically convince you that America suppresses you. Nobody does their homework. Nobody does their homework. And when you really look at the bills, and by the way, we're talking the populations between 1760s and 1770s at the heyday of this, right? Those are mid-18th century demographics, just so you understand. They won't teach you this. And the reason they won't teach you this is because the sole goal and aim is to destroy the United States of America from within. That's it. While they're doing this, killing us by dollars, killing our health, our breads in the United States of America have like 23 ingredients. Most of them chemicals now. Bread should only have 3. They outlaw it in their country because they don't want to carry the debt of having to treat the medical in a socialist society of a dying population. They learned because they suffered from their own health within their own peoples at the ruling class. But then they learned to weaponize it and pushing it down to the regular folks. And the regular folks thought they were fucking living high on the hog, man. I got a fucking Twinkie and you don't. You'd have a party back then. You'd have friends over for dinner, or you'd walk down the street from the market. You were high, hoity-toity, and fancy if you were walking down the street and you made sure they saw your white loaf of bread, or you could buy a pastry for your family. All they realized how to weaponize the poison. We sit here in 2026 and this is still the case. And in fact, it's accelerating. We're eating less and less whole foods, all synthetic, controlled, derivative foods that destroy our health, keep us in the system, kill us faster and younger, and then we got to do pharmaceuticals for it. Right? Brazil, Barbados. I mean, it just keeps on going and going. Let's look at what was Barbados. Okay, here you go. Barbados had 15,000 white people, 60,000 enslaved people. You ever heard these numbers? Put it in chat. Have you ever been told these numbers? You're being told, well, Andrew Jackson had 10 slaves. No, they weren't slaves. They happened to be black. They lived on the property. They were taught to read and write. They were actually paid, and they lived there willingly. They weren't captured. But they'll tell you Andrew Jackson had 6 slaves, 20 slaves, 10 slaves. Have you ever heard the real numbers? Ever? See, this is why they learned to manipulate us through messaging. Because we have been falling for this messaging for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years we've been falling for this. I mean, you should be absolute freaking pissed off when you understand where the concept of reparations come from and exactly what the crown did to shut up the riches, and then they learned to weaponize it. And they just finished paying off that debt to the wealth of Europe, Europe. Yeah, true. Europe and England in 2014. That's where they realized, oh, let's sell this concept over there and we can destroy America and we can control these people. Period. Ancient slaves paid a tax of 20%. Oh, by the way, what does Islam do if they think you're useful and you won't convert? Pay the tax, we'll let you live. This is the racket, folks. This is the racket. And it's all over. But these were the places. These were the places, folks. Haiti, originally known as Saint Dominique, Haiti, Jamaica, Brazil, Pernambuco, Bahia, Barbados, right? Martinique, Guadeloupe, Dutch Ghanas, Suriname, Cuba, and we have a footnote in Louisiana. But do you ever get taught about Puerto Rico or British Ghana or Damara or Escondido or Bibra? Do you get taught any of that? No. You don't get taught any of it. And it's the same countries they try to prop up and we'll take care of you. We'll get you water. We'll fix this. And people like Hillary, Democrat, who is what were the slavers here, run and take the money. What they don't tell you is all of these countries, English controlled, you never hear about the Haitian Revolution. You get taught about the Haitian Revolution? These people are enslaving us? No, you get taught about the American Civil War. See, the American Civil War was not fought over slavery. It's a lie. American Civil War was fought over commerce, manufacturing. And why was that? Because the South provided over 80% of all of the commerce in the United States. They lead you to believe it was slaves. We were an agrarian, we were an agricultural society driving it. The North had all these imported hordes, needed stuff for them to do. They built factories, doing textiles and stuff. And they say, fuck this, we got the factories. We got to make the business come here. How did they switch the business centers of the United States? See, you never got taught that the South was the economy. You'll get taught ugly markers like it was slavery, which was technically not true because it was much further south. It was big agriculture and farming. It was about land, the very thing the North wouldn't let you have much of because they packed people in. And they needed to flip the economy. The Civil War was the flipping of the economy, the flipping of the control of money, folks, not slavery. It was the South that financed the North. It was the most egregious, thou shalt not covet sin there ever was. Now, I'm not saying slavery's fine. Some idiot asshole, you're promoting slavery. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you factually what happened economically. It was only about money and control. That is it. Only about money and control. Because the North produced independently for homes. All of the businesses were 100% local. New York and states like that needed stuff to do. If there's a troll, you got to give me a name. I can't tell what it is. And it was all a con under the guise of, well, it's to free the slaves. There had already been laws on the books outlawing it in the Americas, which they don't teach you about, for 80 years. Let me double the number. Hang on. Right? Period. What they don't understand, what you don't understand and you never get taught was in the 1700s, we had already begun to outlaw it. Right? Let me get the right date. Here you go. Ready? By 1807, it was already in such full swing that if you arrived in the any America ports, United States of America, and you brought slaves, your ships were seized, your business was seized, and you were run out of the country. Now, who did that? Thomas Jefferson. Oh, how do they promote Thomas Jefferson today? Oh, he was a slave owner. Bullshit. He was the one that signed the act in 1807. Okay, so we'll just call it about 60 years before people in revisiting history tell you it was done. Pop quiz. How did they get the slaves inside the United States after 1807? Because if you landed in a port in the United States of America, which you never get taught, they started working on it 40 years earlier, getting rid of it. Gone. We're not doing it. We're not standing for it. How did they get the slaves, the few that got here, and it was very few, how did they get the very few slaves into the Americas? Come on, you know this. Come on, you know this. They snuck them in across the borders. In tunnels. And border crossings. Illegal border crossings. Canada. Mexico. South America. They snuck them in. But what do you get taught about sneaking slaves? Well, it's the Underground Railroad. Bullshit. Bullshit. Underground Railroad was primarily landowners that refused to give their slaves, and they snuck them out or the guys would kill them. That was not a slavery issue. We'd already done with it. But they tell you that's what it is, and you had to free the slaves away. Bullshit. It's how they snuck them across the border. And they weren't going to give up their money. They were flooding them across the border. And now they get it done willingly with the promise of dollars because they've learned the economic thing. Give them dollars, give them free things, give them free cell phones. And guess what? We still get our money. It takes a little longer, but we stay in power forever. And so here comes the infestation of the bugs. This is, now do you understand why they stopped teaching history in schools? Do you now understand why they stopped teaching history in schools? Every bit of it has nothing to do with the person. It has 100% to do with the greed. And the very population that's doing this little twisted thing about reparations and trying to get it through on all of us, and the people that enslaved them and still control them are pushing reparations, get money free, we control them forever, are the same ones consuming 19 teaspoons minimum a day of the very thing their ancestors were enslaved over, but not in the United States of America. These ships, just to the sugar plantations, which were, by the way, African ships, the Moors, right? The Berbers, the Islamic slave trade, they would go into Africa I already gave you this bit where they would convince the leaders to get rid of the other tribes, and that's how they did it. Absolute hard records of 13 million of them being put on a boat. 13 million of them. 100% tied to sugar trade. Not cotton like you think. Not the American. Master, I picked that squash. It's a good squash, Master. Master, did I do good? Pat me on the head, Master. That's all a lie. All a bullshit lie to make America look bad, to make America look evil, to make Americans look like they didn't care. That was bullshit. We had already been outlawing it. In fact, we outlawed it in what is now the United States of America. 3, 80, 23, 23, 30. Wait, hold on. 3, 23, 31 years before England. 31 years before England, we'd already outlawed it. You get taught that in history? Out of 13 million on a boat, a little less than 3 million of them died. Died. 80+% of those slaves, another thing they don't teach you, came through what's called the Middle Passage, which has nothing to do with the United States of America at all. It was almost 100% to work the sugar plantations. How many are said to have set foot? Now, you've been taught that United States of America, the evil slave traders, slave owners. That's what you've been taught. 13 million slaves captured black people, Africans. That's why you should fucking reject this African American fucking hyphen. You're an American. It doesn't matter how much melanin you have, but you are embracing the very people that sold your ass because they didn't like you. Only to be controlled by the very people willing to let you believe they're helping you out while they keep you enslaved, dumbed, pushing out babies, and basically on the system so they can control it. So 13 million. Now, this is documented. 13 million for the slave trade. 13 million. How many do you think actually made it to what is now the United States of America? Do you know? Less than 300,000. But the system teach you the evil United States of America did it. And we demand reparations. And this is why they do not teach history. Because when you go to the books, when you follow the money, and you understand what happened, that's it. By the way, if we took them in order, because you're taught, slavery, picking cotton. Yeah, baby. It was about 3%. Picking cotton of the ones that survived. Let's take them in order. Ready? Sugar plantation. Not the United States of America. Coffee plantation. Not the United States of America. Tea plantations. Not the United States of America. Now, all of them being controlled by who? The English. But yet you're told the Atlantic slave trade, it started in 1619. Even Ocasio-Cortez, who would be fun for about 15 minutes naked, and that's about it. She's cute. Come on. Nice little body. Come on. Dumber than this stump? Perfect. I call it like it is. $21,000 as a lawmaker, went to the special school to be cloaked and turned into a lawmaker. Now she's what, 30 million? I guess that qualifies her as smart. She did what she needed to do, right? But they don't tell you this stuff. They don't teach you this stuff. It is all by design. We had 1 million Irish and Scottish slaves, indentured servants in the United States of America. Why? Because of the crown. Not because of United States of American. This is the con, folks. This is the con. Give you a quick recap.
Every teaspoon of sugar you've ever eaten came from an industry that killed more human beings than almost anything else in history. We just stopped talking about it. Sugar arrived in Europe in the 1400s. Within decades, the demand was insatiable. But sugarcane is brutal to harvest. It cuts, it bleeds, it breaks people. No one would do it willingly, so they didn't ask willingly. More Africans were enslaved specifically for sugar plantations than for any other industry in the entire history of the slave trade. In the Caribbean alone, over 1 million enslaved people died on sugar plantations, worked to death in heat so that Europeans could sweeten their tea. Britain abolished the slave trade in 1807, but quietly paid compensation, not to the enslaved, to the slave owners, for their lost property. The British government finished paying off that compensation debt in 2015. British taxpayers were paying slave owners' descendants until 5 years ago. The average person consumes 40 kilograms of sugar a year. The industry is worth $2 trillion today.
And yet, black young people consume 19, tablespoons a day. This is the real truth of what has gone on. These are the absolute facts. This is why they're in school systems. This is why they're in the media. This is why they don't teach certain things. And you know what? They taught an entire nation. Well, Ebonics, and by the way, there's a new thing in Ebonics, just come back up again. No, you got to speak that way. That's your culture. No, we're going to take care of you. No, we're going to make you happy. No, you're really an African American. No, you're not. You know what happened? You landed on our shores. You are an American, a United States of American, and you know what? You are fucking free if you will cut yourself out of the damn system. But what do? Shame, 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 you Uncle Tom. It is all a con to control. It always has been. It always will be until you learn and face the truth. These are the facts. This is the crap that has gone on. Give me a couple of minutes. I'm going to hop over. You're going to have to watch at my Instagram, my Twitter, which is Jovan H. Pulitzer. I'm going to come back on. We're going to talk about this memo that says, breaking, holy shit, oh my God, thunderous, 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 royal flush. Tulsi Gabbard releases memos alleging CIA cover-up, intelligence officials doctored presidential briefings to hide China, and Venezuela election assistance. It's the machines, it's the machines, it's the machines. You're pushing back. They're freaking out. And they're still going to try to convince you it's the machines. When, by the way, they do it because of the voter rolls and everything else and all those same old stupid ass bastards that told you not to. Don't worry about the voter rolls. It's like sweeping a dirt floor. Now, cry me back up. Jovan's a liar. That's not the truth. I didn't say it, even though I can play the audio for him. That's where I'm going to be next. Join me. I'm going to discuss this particular post. And if you want the truth, I will give you the truth. The question is, can you handle the truth? Share this program.
Rennie Good was a gifted soul, a writer and a poet and a mother. Wow, she tried to hit an agent with her car. Oh no, pop motherfucker, now she's gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Being a fucking liberal is a mental disease. Blue-haired and fuckables with the septum ring. You are not a hero, you're a fucking disease. You fuck around and find out it's what it is. Yeah.
scan the balance of kinematic artifact detection. You love to read and learn, travel and explore. You're a fearless, braveheart patriot who's opened doors. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. You lead by God and always do what's right. In the battle for our nation, you lead the fight. We pray for your safety, the armor of God to protect you from all of us. Here's a thank you for all that you do. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior. Jovan, you're a hero we stand behind. We're inspired by the fire inside your eyes. American proud, we know you'll fight till your dying day. And we'll always stand behind you through everything. You are courage, you're our voice. Jovan, we thank you for what you're fighting for. You're our warrior. You are brave like a lion. You're David fighting Goliath, couldn't ask for more. You're our warrior. Think of what you've done for you, for me, for our country. You'll go down in history as our warrior.